This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This is the Doofus Factor squared leader fan radio network.
Silence is out of the question.
And KFAN.com. 1 minute and 54 seconds past the hour, 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. We welcome you back to the Bumper to Bumper program. Very controversial combo platter program that runs Monday through Friday. Customarily 3 to 6:30 during the football season. A lot of Thursdays are out at 6, but we're not this week because the Vikings are in their bye week. So they are making us, even today, go the distance, Garzi tells me. We'll be wrapping up just before 6:30 this evening. My name is Dan Barreiro, former Ink Stain Wretch newspaper of the Twin Cities. Garzi produces the show, and we thank you for whatever way in which you might try to participate in today's program. A quick reminder, if you like to participate via the Dr. Dan inbox bit, today's the day. Still time to text, or I should say email, the producer of the program and the man who must cull through all of your clever and snarky letters, JG at KFAN.com. JG at KFAN.com. I'm assuming Thursday Night Football tonight on the Fan? Oh, no, it's Wild.
There
what am
you
I
go.
talking about?
Yep,
Wild Blues.
You got there.
Wild Blues. How could I possibly? Maybe it's on the NFL channel. Do we have an iHeart NFL channel the way we have like a Wolves channel?
We probably
and a Lynx
do.
Channel?
I assume it's on KFAN Plus tonight, 96.7 FM.
There you go.
And
it's probably on the
Plus on the iHeart Radio app.
Big ball games. I mean, the two teams that despise each other. The always plucky New York Giants hosting the Super Bowl champion, right? Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't they win the Super Bowl this last year?
Unfortunately, they did, yeah.
4-1 versus 1-4. There's your Thursday night game. Oh, goody. It's football. It's pro football. I get it. But doesn't really do all that much for me. Russo Radio will file a live report, speaking of the Wild, tonight on the Fan. He will join from St. Louis. Meet me in St. Louis. Or what's the bit? Meet me in St. Louis. Louis? Was that from a song or was that just a saying? Look up, meet me in St. Louis, Louis.
That's not the Ways to Leave Your Lover song, right?
No.
Simon and Garfunkel?
I don't think so. And that was only Paul Simon. Garfunkel and Simon and Garfunkel by that point despised each other.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's bad blood.
Are you talking about Meet Me in St. Louis, the 1944 Christmas musical film?
Maybe that's what it is. But I wonder if that lyric is from that. Meet me in St. Louis. Louis, get it? Really clever, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure Gerbschmidt has called in as Lewis from St. Louis before.
That's probably true.
And he snuck by.
You're probably right about that. So Russo on the Wild season opener tonight. Have we lost any other players to injury at the morning skate?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Brodeen's not going to play.
Brodeen's not going to play.
I know he's day to day.
I know. It's amazing. I thought hockey was the tough guy sport. I'm all confused. So, I mean, is this our form of load management, or why can't we keep people healthy?
Our training camp's too tough.
Must be what it is.
John Hines, that's what we've lauded it.
The Les Steckel style of training camp, too much?
Junction boys.
Yeah, that's another term for it.
Meet Me in St. Louis. Louis is a popular song from 1904.
Of course, one of my favorites.
St. Louis World's Fair.
Highly acclaimed. One of the best World's Fairs ever.
Do you want to know why?
No. Yes, I do.
Because we celebrated the Louisiana Purchase Exposition.
That was a bargain, by the way. That was a steal.
Good deal, right?
Unbelievable deal. That was a steal. What was it? Wasn't it $5 million? What was the price of the
15?
Oh, 15 mil. Okay.
No, hold on. The
Louisiana Purchase. I thought it was $5 million back then.
Yeah, because the exposition was like a celebration of it 100 years later.
Yes.
That cost 15.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, but this actually says in return for $15 million, the U.S. acquired a total the land that you got in the Louisiana Purchase. So $15 million.
And what did we get? We got more than Louisiana, didn't we? I thought we got more than what is now the state of Louisiana.
We did. We got parts of Arkansas, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Minnesota. Louisiana, New Mexico, Texas, North Dakota. According to Wikipedia.
Minnesota was part of the Louisiana Purchase?
A little bit of it,
part of it, okay. What part, do we know? Bemidji?
No, it'd be, actually, further than you'd think. It goes all the way up to central Minnesota.
Seriously?
But the whole south part of the state, if, again, I'm reading this map correctly, which is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
But it basically goes from St. Louis, the Mississippi River.
Yes, of course.
Over to, partway through New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. I assume there's another river that's the border there that I'm too stupid to know. The Colorado River, maybe?
I wouldn't know. I'm not good at geography.
Just winging it. Yeah. But it's a hell of a purchase for $15 million.
That was a bargain. That was
changed everything.
That's a steal. We call that in the vernacular today. That would be called a steal.
It's like getting Rudy Gobert for 4 firsts and a couple of pick swaps.
Wow.
And Walker Kessler.
Yeah. We still could get Walker Kessler eventually.
He's going to be available. We have too many centers now.
Probably. Oh, that's true. We got the kid that
the baby
love.
Beignet.
Yeah, the baby. That's it. Exactly. You a big Canada Dry guy? I thought I'd mix it up today, and I brought one of these little mini Canada Dry cans. Are you a Canada Dry? Are you a ginger ale guy?
It's
very refreshing.
I'm like most people. It's only on airplanes for me, typically, if at all. And I haven't had a ginger ale in probably 10 years.
That tastes pretty good. I prefer it with ice.
Yeah.
Clear ice, by the way. Got to be clear ice.
Not cloudy?
Cubes. And not shaved ice. I like clear cubes with my Canada Dry.
Because why? You just don't trust the clouds?
I like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't know why. The problem on airplanes is if you ask for Canada Dry, a lot of times they think you just mean a ginger ale. And so you end up with like Schweppes ginger ale. I'm not. Are you kidding me? Out of your mind. I want a Canada Dry ginger ale.
Not going to work.
Not going to work. In fact, we've talked about this before, and then somebody sent me like about 12 kinds of ginger ale.
That's right.
Anyway, where were we? Well, I mentioned Russo. I mentioned the inbox. Sean Salisbury is scheduled to join us at the bottom of this hour, so I think we've got a lot of stuff covered. I hope a little more time to get into some stuff I've been saving and sort of embargoing for the last several days. The Doofus Factor squared. We have not talked about one of the bigger league-wide National Football League talkers this week, and it has to do with, it is, I think, has been one of the soap opera teams in the National Football League for quite some time, the Arizona Cardinals, right? The Cardinals are 2-3, a rather improbable loss last week in which a running back named, is it Imari DiMercato?
Yeah.
Decides to drop the ball, lets go of the football on his way to the end zone before crossing the goal line.
And they had the game in complete control.
They would have been up 28-6.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
At that point, they ultimately lose the game to the, who they play? The Rams, 22-21. So, yeah, a massive play. Doofus factor. There's no excusing it in any way, shape, or form. I think it had also happened to an Indianapolis receiver, Mitchell, the week before. So it almost seems to be spreading. And anytime this happens, because it has happened from time to time, it ends up becoming kind of a huge story. What set this one off, though, took it to another level, was that the Arizona Cardinals head coach, his name is Jonathan Gannon. And on the sidelines, video captured a confrontation in which Gannon, not surprisingly, was livid with what his running back had done. What set this apart, though, from most sideline scenes of drama is that he appeared to kind of punch at him, right? Was it to the midsection? I've seen the tape a few times, and it's a real quick shot.
Yeah, it's a little jab.
So I think my guess is Gannon thought, well, this isn't going to be like, I'm not going to be Woody Hayes on the sidelines well, you're too young to know, but I'm certainly heard the story. Punched an opposing player. I want to say it was a Clemson player. It was the end of his career.
It was.
Terrible scene. Awful scene. We've talked about it often over the years with Glenn Mason. And in this case, film captured or video captured exactly that, what took place there. And ultimately, Gannon ends up apologizing. Said he apologized to the team, and then he was fined. How much was he fined? Do you have the number in front of you?
It was $100,000, wasn't it?
Was it $100,000?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I gotcha. What's interesting about this one is in the football world, a debate has broken out about who you should really be angrier with. I'm not going to. I refuse to sort of play that game. I would just call it Doofus Factor squared. I think one stupid move begat another stupid move, and there's no excusing, frankly, either one of them. Now, has the running back apologized to the team? Has he apologized for his Doofus Factor stupidity? Do we know, in all seriousness?
I don't know.
We know Gannon has.
Yes.
Now, he's in the position of authority, so you say, well, he has to. I would say the player should be doing the exact same thing to his team. And the debate is, look, in a real-world office setting, of course, you can't have any kind of physical confrontation like what took place there, but stop pretending that a college or pro football sideline is like a real office. We have physical confrontations that often take place, including, who's the Chiefs head coach? Andy Reid?
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid, has he not used his belly, or is it his shoulder, to bump his tight end?
They've gotten into it
on the sidelines.
Yeah, the tight end has grabbed the head coach.
Did Andy Reid get fined for that?
I don't think
for those
so.
bumps?
I don't believe so.
Is the distinction, it looked like there was a slugging or a half a slug or whatever the case may be. Is that the distinction here?
I guess. I don't know.
You spend your Saturdays on sidelines. So I don't want to get too far behind. I want you after the break to speak to this because, again, we'll talk to Glenn Mason about it. We probably should have this week, but we maybe can even next week because my impression of Glenn has been he thinks of himself as an old school coach.
Yeah.
But I also remember hearing Glenn say, you cannot put your hands on your players. You can't do it. And I think that was pretty much the Mason approach philosophically. He found other ways to punish them, for sure, but that's not it. So we'll get your view as a guy who watches a lot of weird things happen on the sidelines. We'll opine a little bit more on that because I cannot defend either one of them, quite frankly. And then we'll prepare for Salisbury at the bottom of the hour. But first,
Fan and Two Men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. First keyword of the afternoon is bank. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword bank.
Tom from Columbia Heights writes, Dan, Gannon spent so many years under Sirianni, he thinks he can also act like Tony Soprano. That being said, the idiot running back should count himself lucky that he still has a job. Don't celebrate after you score. I'd throw the book at the running back. I have no problem. I don't know what his contract was. I don't know any of that. I'd cut him. To me, there are some acts, athletically speaking, from a competitive standpoint in a team sport that are so egregious, they say, we're done. It's a good run. Go find a job someplace else. We're not messing with that. So believe me, I'm not defending the running back at all. I just don't know that. I just don't think in 2025 the person in the position of authority, you can't strike him that way. Maybe you can. Maybe bumping him's okay.
Yeah,
but I don't think you can do what you can do. Now you again have grown up on sidelines, especially now, you see all kinds of stuff. It's not like any other workplace.
No, it's
just
not.
Isn't.
It's not.
So what do you make of this?
You can't touch anybody. That's the biggest thing. Now, does he need to be fined $100,000? I don't know. Because I know there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, let the guy coach his team.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to hurt him. He wasn't trying to, physically harm him. But I do think once you open yourself up, once you make it more physical,
I agree
that people are going to have reactions. And I think it was
you take away from the egregious act itself.
It was the team, right, that fined him and not the NFL.
That's true. That's true.
Obviously ownership didn't like it. Whoever made that call, so it crossed the line for them. I haven't seen too many. There's only been, this is year 15 on the sidelines. Oh, good for me.
Not as much as you would think, or not as many as you would think? in terms of confrontations?
I'd say fewer than 3 times where I've felt uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, that's not many.
It feels like it's over the line. It might be more personal than just, hey, you missed your assignment.
Gotcha.
Again, that's college, and we basically had 2 coaches, Kill and Fleck. They're both, they're not known for that anyway, right? So, and different assistants and everything. And even then, what I deem uncomfortable might not have even been uncomfortable in the football world, and that's 100+ games and 1 million practices. So it is pretty rare to have it go to the level that it went to. I've never seen anything like we just saw here, where it gets a little physical.
How about Kirk Cousins' vicious assault on M. Zimmer? That was a classic. Remember that one? It was,
of course.
That was extremely uncomfortable.
I wish they could have finished that one out.
A lot about, quite frankly, how they felt about each other. I think.
Tweet that.
Yeah, I don't. Do you ever think Zim was a big Cousins guy? No.
Although
on the other hand, he obviously was not a big Keenum guy either.
The only quarterback he liked was Teddy Bridgewater.
That's true. That's the only one.
That was the only one he ever really liked.
Pro Bowl quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Yep. You're right. How about this historical nugget? Well, it's in a Hollywood sense, and it's a good one. As Jonathan from Bloomington writes, this is how Norman Dale ended up as the coach at Hickory. Coach Dale says he can see himself stopping his fist from hitting that player. Remember, that's how he was a college coach.
You're right.
And that's what left him with no place to go but Hickory High School, where the principal happened to be an old friend of his who said, you know what, I'm going to give old Norman Dale a shot. Right?
Worked out
that
pretty well.
That was the backdrop.
It worked out pretty well.
That was completely fictitious, had nothing to do with the real story of that team, but you needed that little extra hook, I guess. You had that little extra human melodrama. Is that correct?
And it added so much.
We've had some, I'm trying to think, head coaches here. There have been some like shouting matches, and the only thing that is physical that I recall is Cousins. And Cousins initiated that, did he not?
I think so. Yeah, he pushed him.
And then Zim said, okay, I'll push you back. You're back in fourth grade at recess.
Yep, you're right.
I don't remember Bernsey doing anything physical with a player like that.
Tice?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, but nothing comes to mind. Denny
wouldn't have.
Bud, I'm certain wouldn't have. Because I think Bud probably had some rule, and he was obviously a hardcore coach, very disciplined-minded coach. But I don't remember any stories that have been told over the years in that regard.
No, I don't.
Ditka
and Harbaugh, right at the Dome.
He shook his fist at him after that infamous interception. I can still remember the games. In fact, they just got replayed somewhere. The Vikings were down 20-0 in the fourth quarter against the Bears.
I remember watching it as a kid.
They're cruising. Bears have the ball again, and Harbaugh calls an audible at the line of scrimmage. He expects the receiver on the left to stop to catch the pass that he threw. Receiver kept going, didn't hear the audible. Todd Scott, the defensive back, read it, pick six, game on. Vikings win that game 21-20. And Ditka lost his mind.
Yes, he did.
But I don't know that he... Now, again, cameras are more ubiquitous these days, right? They're everywhere, so it's probably harder to get away with stuff that back in the day there might not have been any film for. And probably there would have been less outrage about, correct?
Yes, things have definitely changed.
One of the sentiments I've heard that I couldn't disagree with more, though, is, well, how can you make this more about what the coach did than what the player did? I don't even think you have to divide it up that way. You want to call it 50-50? Call it 50-50. But again, the irony is all of the attention would have been on the stupidity of what the running back did if you do not cross that line. You can't do that. And I don't even know that I'd say in 2025 you can't do it. I think it's 10 years ago you shouldn't do it and can't do it, because I do think it probably does cross a line with players. Not all players. Maybe some players say, yeah, I wish I'd have hit him. But nevertheless, it's you lose whatever moral high ground you have to make the story about him being the doofus, doing something that cost your team a game. By the way, I think they were playing, I said the Rams. Was it the Titans instead?
They lost to Tennessee.
Yeah, it was Tennessee Titans, so we'll do the covenant cleanup there. A bottom of the hour break. Maybe we'll ask our guy Sean Salisbury. A lot to get to with him. He is coming up next. We'll talk about maybe his worst sideline confrontation with a coach or a teammate, or most tense. We'll get his reaction to the Vikings' 1-1 trip to Europe, and who knows what else. Shawnee is next. There's a lot of ways to define grace under difficult circumstances. I'm going to give you my latest definition. This is a tweet from our next guest. This is from yesterday. Sean Salisbury tweeted this out. It's been a hell of a run the last 8 years. Sports Talk 790 Houston. I fully understand the financial decisions the corporate has to make. Appreciate the great bosses at iHeart that I got to work with, and here in Houston, who've become friends too. Very grateful for good coworkers and the talent you hear daily on Sports Talk 790 lineup. I'm so blessed to have worked with special teammates / friends on my show every morning. You know my love for you guys. I'll talk to each of you individually. Massive thanks to the phenomenal partners and sponsors who trusted me with your teams and companies daily. Never take that responsibility lightly. And from my soul, I want to thank you listeners, fans, supporters, and friends who became family. You brought great laughs and passion to my show. I am filled with joy and happiness, and you are a huge reason for the show's success. A marvelous effort in what had to be a Sean Salisbury. You know, you weren't looking forward to that announcement, I wouldn't think. It had to hit you pretty hard, but I just thought you handled that with such class.
Yeah, Dad, you know, we tough. Oh, man, it's great. Of course. I mean, and it's more for me, Dan, you know, those moments I talk about, you know, the relationships. They do become friends and family. You're there every day. Hell, people are still in their beds sleeping in, and your teammates and the
Yes.
hard work you put in to make it a top show. And I'm proud of the work we did. But every word of that, sometimes people think, oh, that's hyperbolic. He doesn't feel that. I do. I've seen rock bottom. I know what that looks like, and I've seen it. I mean, and it's okay. But I've also seen tremendous success, and I'm honestly more worried about some of my coworkers that may not have another option right now during the holiday season. And I've got, you know, another great show going on, and there's been other opportunities that have presented themselves in 2 days. But I sincerely mean it. It was a great run. Hell, in radio these days, it seems like that's a long time. You're right. You're one that's going to be doing it for 40 years, dude, because you're so good. But I do respect. When it comes to financial decisions and cutbacks, I get it. Better me than somebody that couldn't get through it. And I'm okay with it because I know the good work. It didn't strip away my skill set.
Yep.
It's just a temporary detour. Hell, name the show Unpaved on my other show.
Right.
It's kind of the road I'm used to. So I understand the resilience, and I am eternally grateful. And looking at the support, Dan, it almost brought me to tears when I look and see people's comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
On Twitter, which I usually don't pander and never will, and I don't need approval, but it's nice to have it, and it's nice to know you're going to be missed. And I root the next show on to kick ass and the teammates, but it was a great run, and I'm actually excited for the next challenge. And I got some businesses, some stuff I can tend to, and I'm in no rush for the next morning drive show or whenever it presents itself, if it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm richly blessed, my brother, and I'm always grateful to come on to you. I'll never take this for granted. I never take this career for granted, and to be able to do it 30 years, and you know the longevity and the great support you have, I'm grateful. And my thoughts are out to the iHeart family, to those who are wondering how they're going to pay their bills through the fall. So God bless them.
Very well said. I have no doubt. Yeah, I have no doubt you'll be fine. I'm sure there's already stuff percolating. We've talked about this before, but a lot of times over the years when we talk during shows, I still get the sense that you haven't lost hunger for being back inside the game in a coaching sense. Where are you on that? Might this open that door a little bit more or make you be a little bit more aggressive in that regard? Or is that ship sailed where you feel like, okay, no, I'm in a very different kind of role, and I'm very happy with covering this stuff, but not necessarily from the inside?
Yeah, Dan, I think that's a phenomenal point by you. I think about it often. I have never really chased it. You know, when Denny, when you came to ESPN and work, when I left ESPN, I'll never forget, and I share this story because, you know, I think people in Minnesota can relate to this, knowing what Denny did and what he meant to the city and the good runs we had, right? And I'll never forget, we were at I think my last year there, and we were walking out the field, and Denny looked at me and he said, when you're done playing, you're going to come coach with me. And I was in a Viking uniform. And then I ended up going to San Diego for my last year. And then we had stayed in touch. And I think it was just part of because I was immersed into the study part of it. And, you know, when you're a guy that's seeing great players in front of you and trying to help, I think Denny was appreciative of, like I've told you before, of drive the bus, of just understand what we're trying to get accomplished, even if you didn't execute it as good as Moon or Culpepper or anybody else. And so I did stay on top of that. And then when Denny came to ESPN before he got the Arizona job, and we talk, and he offered me the quarterback coach job, and I flew to Arizona, and it was the 11th hour, and my nameplate was on the door there in Arizona, and we started talking. It was the Matt Leinart draft. We actually started talking draft, and he said, I understand, because I had young kids at that time, and you know, I was on a rise, and I don't mean it on a rise through ESPN, you know, doing the stuff, because you and I used to talk then when I started at ESPN, if you remember it. And so I molded over, and I do have regrets, because I always felt maybe I can go back and do TV and radio. I should have taken the gig, and I didn't, because I was immersed. But, you know, life's, again, about moments and things you do and don't do. And I turned him down, and he said, let's walk down that tunnel one more time. And I turned him down. He was very gracious about it. And he said, well, our paths will cross again. And we went through it, and I went through that, and I missed out on that. But just the regret, because I still love the career of, like, the competition. And to your point, I do miss it, and I think about it with the training. So the ship hasn't sailed. And then LSU had asked me, Ed Orgeron, I was training a kid, and Ed saw the way I'd trained him, and he was their number one recruit a handful of years ago when he was at LSU. And it was the spring before Burrow got there. And I remember, Ed, I was there, and because I was training the kid, they offered me a job to come and be an analyst at the time being, and this was Burrow transferring from Ohio State. So they were kind of in flux right now, right? And so I said, I originally went up there to talk about the guy I was training, the recruit, to talk how he'd fit in. And I drove to Baton Rouge. I was just going up there to visit with him and the offensive coordinator, guys I'd known. And then halfway through the meeting, he says, I'd like you to work here. I'm like, what? And they had a staff, and it was just to, like, help the quarterbacks and be an analyst, like you see guys in between gigs. And I called up my girl, and I said, this meeting's going to take a little longer. And so I went home. And then at that point in time, with all these crazy NIL rules and college football sports rules, if you train somebody within a 2-year period or so that's a recruit, it's almost like a nepotism thing, right, Dan, where they can't do any favors. If you're training the guy we're recruiting, we're not going to have you here. So I would have had to give training the kid up, and I was committed. I had devoted a lot of time to this player, and he had devoted a lot of time to me. And then they went through the steps you have to go to see if the NCAA will approve it, and they wouldn't. They couldn't get it through the protocol, so it didn't happen. Well, hence, guess who comes in as their coordinator? That at the end of that, Joe Brady. Joe Brady comes in from the Saints. The next year, Burrow in his second year there, they have the greatest offense in the history. So I'd say they got the right guy in Joe Brady, right? So, but that's another thing. I said I would have taken that, and it wouldn't have mattered about the money because I was close. And I've talked to coaches along the way. If it was the right job, if Denny was still alive and offered again, I'd listen. I've had a few coaches, I'll leave them out, who have said, if I get this job or that, I'd love you to come. And that's great. But who knows? So I still have a passion for it. I love to teach. I love to coach, and I love the competition. But if I have to talk about it, fine. So I don't know if I'm going to go after it hard. And if a coaching convention comes up and I want to show up, maybe. But for me at this stage, Dan, it would have to be the right gig of a coach that I know is all in, and we have the same philosophy. Coaches you can think about. Dan Campbell calls, I'm listening. Kevin O'Connell calls. Or there's a handful that you say, hell yeah, I'd still play for the guy if I had any eligibility left. So while I love it, I'm not so removed from it because I stay immersed in it and I study changes in the game. But whether it comes or not, the only thing that I miss, the paycheck and all that, we can earn money anyway. I miss the chess match of preparing weekly and the competition. And God rest any soul. I should have walked down the tunnel with him one more time, but I missed out on that. And it's a regret I'll carry with me for a while, even though I was in a great career at the time.
A lot of decisions, man. You make them at the time. No, maybe it looks clearer now, but it probably wasn't so as clear then.
And I've matured, Dan, from a player.
Sure.
And, and some of the things where, you're brash and you think you're this, that, and you get kicked in the teeth. You have success. And listen, we all do. And the truest, I guess, cliche is how you deal with it and how you come out of the other side. And I think I've learned over the years to be more to just gratitude for small wins. You know what I mean, Dan?
Absolutely.
Yep. If the big ones come along with it, then I'm okay with it. But no matter what, man, I'm never leaving this show until you tell me I'm not welcome on anymore. There you go.
That ain't going to happen. Well, I will say this. Maybe you should look into eligibility. You might, given how many, we got quarterbacks I feel like who've been in college 10 years. Maybe you could petition and get an extra year or two. Who the hell knows?
Well, even not college, NFL. Now, I got to do what Joe is. I got about 5 throws in me, Dan, about 5 throws or maybe more, as long as in that particular game they say if you even go by and think about hitting the quarterback or get within 4 feet, you're done. So, that ship sailed. But you're right. We got guys asking for a 7th and 8th year, guys that have had 8 years. It's to the point where they're going to have grandkids, and the grandkids are going to say, hey, Grandpa, are you done playing? So I guess you milk it as long as you can. But I'm better. Dan, real quick, I remember when I first started doing television, when it was done with football. And about 3 years or 2 years after it, even 2 years, you're standing on the sideline of a game, getting ready to do Sunday countdown, and then the game goes on after. And I literally, or going to a college game, I'd sit there and I thought, oh my gosh, you studied how explosive and good the talent is. I said, I know it's only 2 years removed, but that's sure that who in the world's dumb enough to do this for a living? And your buddy'd hit you upside the head and say, you idiot, you were doing it just 2 years ago. And I say, they'd look a lot different now, even though they didn't. It sure felt like it. So a lot of respect for that.
And that was then, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, let's update the Vikings quarterback situation, because, as you know, they did find a way with that last drive. I'm convinced that as bad as the Browns offense finished that game, the Vikings probably could have had 4 more tries even after their last one to score. It was like the Browns were not, I think, going to let the Vikings out of that game. And they have a great drive at the close. Wentz goes 9 for 9. I thought a really good mix of play calls, and they end up stealing, the victory. We now know they're in the bye. So the question is the same as a week ago, although we have a little bit more information now. And there's a lot of ways to look at it in terms of the Eagles game, which is the one after the bye for the Vikings. And one way is you keep going with Wentz, because he played well enough, and your line, you had backups at every offensive line position virtually. The other way is you invested in McCarthy. This is the guy you said he could be the guy now, and you might as well start the clock if he's healthy. You feel any differently than you did a week ago based on another game in which I thought Wentz wasn't great, but he was clutch when he had to be.
Right, and you look at the numbers on the accuracy, not throwing the ball to the other team, they were pretty damn good.
That's a great point, yes.
We always look at, did he throw for 400? He won. Most important, he was as good. He was phenomenal under duress and pressure when the game was on the line. And he didn't throw at the other team, didn't put them in a bind, and made the throw he made to Addison to win the game. Great catch, but that you couldn't have walked out there and handed it any better. I feel stronger about Wentz, right, about him staying in. Now, I shouldn't have to qualify this, but I will. My feelings for McCarthy. But why would you make the switch now? You're not going to lose McCarthy. The kid knows about competition. You're also not going to lose him. He's in his infancy. He's still hurt. You are in a position where you say, he's not going anywhere. I'm not worried about him losing his confidence or that, you gave it, now we got a big competition. Why wouldn't I go with the guy who keeps winning? Hell, the 49ers may face that pretty quick here.
That's true.
They got with Mac Jones, even though Purdy's big money. Dan, I've never understood why we were so worried about the fragility. And I'm not sure Kevin's worried about the fragility of J.J. McCarthy. But we want this quick fix. Why the rush? Now, they had to rush J.J. in because Daniel Jones is starting and Darnold's starting and both playing at a high level. And you didn't know what you were going to get. And Wentz has been a journeyman. You say, we've committed this guy, we're going to do it. Just because you start Wentz right now doesn't mean 2 years from now or even week 17, he's going to be the starter. McCarthy is your future. And for a while, for a minute, he was your present. But as it sits now, you got a guy who's playing at a pretty high level considering. You heard, we talked about it last week, Dan, about that feeling of passion for the game again, which I think is showing in his performance with Wentz. And he's making clutch. He's not putting his team in a bind. So I'll ask one simple question to Vikings fans. And like I said, it's not an indictment at all on McCarthy. This is a compliment to the way that Kevin gets guys ready to play, but also that a veteran came in here, has taken accountability, put his mind to it, and they're winning. Why wouldn't you? Well, I'm looking for reasons of why you wouldn't play Wentz. Mm-hmm. If this continues, he goes and plays coming out of the bye week, takes care of his business, you're winning. You're not going to lose McCarthy. You're just not. He's going to be fine. And if all of a sudden Wentz goes through a streak where he's not playing well, the rookie gives him a chance to get fully healthy and watch a little bit again and see what's going on. I've just never understood. Oh, my gosh, well, what happens if he's upset? Man, what if he is? Kevin knows how to handle that. It's called football. It's competition. I taking out a hot hand just to appease where we drafted him or so the optics look good. I think Kevin's smarter than that. And right now with the way he's playing, I mean, and in truth, JJ, who was great in the fourth quarter of the one game, has really played a small amount of really solid football so far. Yeah. That doesn't mean he's not going to, but I would say that if you just said, if this was a competition, we had no idea where they were drafted or the past, who's played better? Well, one's played longer this year, but to me, what's the urgency to say, well, we got to set him back down? I know who Carson Wentz is, but he's right now we're starting to see a guy who I think needs time in Wentz. I think he needs these. I don't think he's one of those guys that sits over there for a year and a half and then comes off the bench. I think Wentz is one of those guys, maybe even a little more fragile personality-wise in the past.
Yes.
About the confidence and the pat on the back. JJ's had so much success, I don't think you can shake it. Carson's had his great stuff and his down stuff, and it feels like he's starting to get that, you know what? I feel pretty good about my game again. And I think that's important to a football team. Right now, unless I see him fall off during the bye week, which he's not, and going into it, and he'll have a bone to pick with that game you're talking about. So we'll see who he is. Does he wilt under that one in a couple weeks? It's Philadelphia, as you said, right, Dan?
Correct. The Eagles. The Eagles is next. Yep.
A team that he started with where he started out as a phenomenal player. So, and some guy like Barkley gets to play tonight against his former team, the Giants. You find out where that motivation and what brings it to you. I just don't know what the hurry is to throw JJ back in, especially if you think you're a playoff team, which the Vikings do, and a Super Bowl caliber team. What's the rush? We're in such a rush. Let it sit there and simmer. And if all of a sudden Wentz goes into the tank, you got a guy. If he doesn't and plays well, the guy's still going to be there and he'll continue to learn. There is no rush at all. Give me Wentz right now because he's playing well enough for you to win. And what he did at 9-9, how do you take that out of the lineup right now? In a game when, in truth, Dylan Gabriel played pretty well. Mm-hmm. Their defense is outstanding in Cleveland, and it was kind of up and down throughout. And I didn't really understand Kevin Stefanski's approach late with Dylan Gabriel.
I didn't either. Calling.
Yes. It was baffling to me, and I had a lot of respect for Kevin. But Kevin O'Connell did a nice job of mastering what Wentz does well. And you can see, you can't make that throw without playing with confidence, Dan. And the throw to Addison and the protecting of the football means something to me. Wentz is your starter, not forever, as we sit. And if McCarthy was healthy this week or next week, I'm starting Carson Wentz.
Well, these things, as we've said before, have a tendency to take care of themselves one way or another. Yep. Wentz comes back to the pack. He gets hurt, and he actually did hurt his left shoulder. But I don't think it's going to be a thing that's going to hold him back.
And then he came back and played well, Dan. Shows he's a little bit tougher in that passion. So it was important.
2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row he's gotten battered, and he's come back nicely both times. Here's the kicker for me, and this bothers the McCarthy people who, again, kind of misread what I've been saying and what you're saying. It's not a matter of rejecting him. It might mean putting him off a little longer. And I know in this town, everybody's been waiting forever. We've done the rental quarterbacks. We've done the aging vet. Now we finally thought we had a guy and we have to wait longer. But here's the kicker. Let's say Wentz starts against the Eagles and plays well in that game. That would be the first good opponent that you'd played and beaten. And then it gets escalated even more. To me, to a certain extent, that it's even harder to take him out. If the Vikings beat the Eagles and Wentz is one of the reasons why, then I think it becomes even more tantalizing.
Yeah, but and you're 100% correct, but what's the negative about, I mean, okay, so he plays well against Philadelphia. If you're a fan, is Kevin's job and the organization's job to appease one guy who's a really good teammate and a hell of a player in J.J. McCarthy and going to be really good, and he's just getting started in the infancy of his career. He's young and he's going to be fantastic, I believe. But where's your obligation? Is it to make sure his feelings aren't hurt, that he comes back, he's ready? You can lose your job, at least initially, to being injured. We see it all the time. Doesn't mean you're not getting it back. So is your obligation to winning games and giving yourself the best chance no matter who you're playing? Or is it to make sure, well, we drafted the guy, we committed to him, we got to do it now and make sure the fan base. I think the fan base in Minnesota, knowing their passion, would like to win. And it is not an indictment on J.J. McCarthy. And I mean this affectionately because we all, I think, have seen this. Remember back in the day, Dan, and I can say this, remember when you were like the freshman in high school and you were like, had this crush on a girl, but she then in the summer went and got that headgear bracelet. So you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know the look, the old school look that nobody wears. And I mean this affectionately and kindly. And you looked at her and you said, you know what, man, but I'll see you when you're a junior, right? For Sadie Hawkins or the prom. And then she comes back the summer after a junior year when she got the headgear off and all of a sudden, and she's nice as could be. You're like, man, I'm 16 years old. And she comes back in the summer. You're like, who the world? Oh, yeah, goodness gracious. McCarthy's got the headgear on right now.
Right.
We know that the potential's there. You see the forest through the trees or through the headgear and say, man, I wonder what that's going to be like in a year from now. But you have the senior who's there and established and everybody. She's the homecoming queen, all that. But you got the one that's like, man, this one may be special. So I know that's an odd comparison, but I was just thinking about that earlier, thinking, you know, we all remember that when we were growing up, or even when you were the girl who liked the guy who's a little overweight, or so he had that baby fat on. Then he comes back after working out in the summer, and she's like, all right, I'm marrying him 10 years from now, right? So I just want fans to know you're in it to win. And it is not by any stretch of the imagination telling McCarthy he can't play. Matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. Hang on, big fella. We're going to be fine. But right now, this is best for our team. That game in Philadelphia will tell you a lot, Dan, about where Wentz's mindset is as well.
One other quarterback question, not related to the Vikings. I don't know that we've talked much the last year or two. Maybe we have, but been a while since we've chatted about Baker Mayfield. And I'm constantly fascinated by him because I admit when he was in Cleveland, I didn't get it with him. I obviously could see he could make he had voltage. He could make plays, but then I'd see some just harebrained decision-making and picks and interceptions. So how has he become what he seems to be at this point? And is that an indication that in Cleveland they failed him? Or he was a different quarterback? Because the guy looks like he's as good as anybody right now. Explain his transition.
So with you, and I'm dying on the hill of Baker Mayfield right now. And I have been for a while. And I went through the same thing with him, Dan. First year, like offensive rookie of the year, was pretty solid.
Yes.
Second year, Third year, got him in the playoffs. Remember the loss to Kansas City, right? And then the fourth year kind of went down again, blood start, banged up, all that. He was erratic. And he's got that personality. Remember when you used to watch Tom Arnold go on talk shows, the actor?
Yes.
And he'd be moving around 100 miles an hour and he'd say, that's Baker, right?
That's true.
Frantic. Matter of fact, making you feel uncomfortable because he's so frantic, all these elbows and kneecaps moving around. But he's a high IQ guy. And I know this is going to sound odd, but the Baker Mayfield I watched at Texas Tech, then transfer to Oklahoma, play in a league, playing like the not the fraternity league, but when everybody goes in that doesn't play football, they
intramurals?
have intramural. There you go, intramural league, and he loves football. When he has the walk-on mentality, which he's been his whole life until he was the first pick of the draft, a walk-on, he's always approached it as tough, hard-nosed, getting after it. And I know people say, well, that isn't. Remember what all the commercials, all that, it almost became, because I'd go on every single week in Cleveland like I do with you, and you saw development, then it'd take a step back, and the commercials, and there was almost like a sense of the loss of, it felt like a loss of focus on what they were doing. And Cleveland, just looking at their history, has failed plenty of players, and those fan base deserves better.
True.
They have. Well, they'd love to have him back now and take away guaranteed $1 million from Watson. But I'll tell you what I love about him. Like quarterback, just what we're talking about McCarthy, just in a different way. He's been kicked in the teeth. He was damn near, Dan, labeled a journeyman. Matter of fact, Carolina, the Rams, he wasn't having much success, some good, some bad, just like he was in Cleveland. but something clicked where he got back to saying, I'm staying out of all the thing. There's a different focus. He is a great leader, has always been a great leader, but especially and brash and tough. And we always hear linebacker mentality. He's got that. And he is so good late in games when even if things haven't gone well, that's the sign of a really good quarterback. It's easy when you're playing well and you get the ball last, say, well, I'm in a rhythm. It's when things may not be going well. How do you pick your team up and make guys ready? And they just know you're going to succeed. Well, I've watched his development in Tampa, and we thought it was going to be a long time before somebody come in and do it, to at least keep him afloat like Brady did. And he's not there. But the last year and a half, he and Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson played the best football on the planet. Yeah. And he belongs in that team picture, and he's winning. And there's something to be said about this, the way he's doing. He's putting up numbers. He's got comeback wins. And I think he's redeveloped what made him great and the first pick of the draft. This walk-on mentality of, I'm not going to be looked at as a star. I'm going to be looked at as one of these dudes in this locker room, and I'm going to go to it. I'm going to do it, pop in the alley and fight anybody for him. And I think they're at the point they're doing the same thing. We greatly misjudged the downfall of Baker Mayfield and his inner toughness, because it would have been easy, Dan, to play on 4 other teams and still say, talk it instead of walk it. And I couldn't be more impressed. And I love watching him play. Yeah, and I can't wait till the 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play this week, because it's going to be a hell of a game. He is not only the most improved player in this league the last couple of years, but today as we sit, he's the most valuable player, sans Josh Allen, and he's in the conversation with him in the league right now. That's how good he's been. Outstanding analysis as always. Appreciate the time. Keep us posted on the next big announcement, because I'm assuming there's another big. I'm assuming you're negotiating right now. You got like 4 or 5 deals. You just got to figure out which one to take. And one of them's not to play quarterback in the league, Dan. I promise. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for all the great love, and I can't thank you and Guardsy enough. Man. Appreciate you. Take care. All right. Sean Salisbury, Dateline, Greater Houston, Texas area. Guardsy, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line has blown up like it rarely has, and it all is related. Well, come back and I'll tell you that it confirms one inescapable notion, immutable, that we hear about and learn over and over again. And so I guess to a certain extent we shouldn't be surprised, but it's a great reminder. We'll get to that when we